Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to all of you to another week more in this path, the beginning of our week, of our emotional week of Taurus. So let's begin with the topic for today, which is related to home. So let's talk about home. First of all, try to understand what home means. Home, of course, that is a very subtle concept that defines not the place where we live, but the state in which we live in that place. So it's much more related to the concept of how do we feel, the connections that we have there, the memories, the emotions that we feel. So the main difference between home and house would be that house is the structure where you live, the architectural structure of a place of living, while home is describing all the soul that is within that that house. So it's much more related to the soul, the essence, the emotions that you can feel inside a house. So of course that we might live in a house, but we don't feel at home in that house. Maybe that house has different things that I don't like, and will consider home the place where I feel quiet and fine and happy. So let's try to understand why we call home to this concept and feeling of a place instead of the site and structure where I live. So let's go into the concept of home. Home is kind of related with the etymology of hogar in Spanish, a little bit, because it is also referring to a place where you feel comfortable. Is related to the idea of a hot place. The word home means place or warm place. Warm place. Coming from the idea of settle, of a word, of an Indo-European word that was, I don't remember the word, but anyway, the word means a place where you stay, where you are comfortable, that is warm. The connection with the etymology of hogar in Spanish is that it is related with a word called fogar, that comes from the word focus. In English, we have the word focus, okay? That is to concentrate in something, to see something really straight, okay? So when we say focusing on something, it comes from the exactly word in Latin that means fire. Fire. So focus means fire, which means that is the place where you have the light. It's the place where you have the straight light. The thing is that that we relate it with this, even if for English fire comes from another place, another etymology, which is the Greek one in philos. We have this concept of Latin, which is focus. The idea of home is related to a warm place because we are talking about a place that have fire inside, like a lighthouse. Sorry, lighthouse, no, like a fireplace, okay, inside a house. In English, you don't have exactly the same words that we have in Latin languages, but we in Latin has the fireplace on a house is basically called exactly the same as hogar, as home in Spanish. it's much more straight related in the Latin languages than in the English language. So let's understand why in history we have called home as a place where we have fire. So first of all, to understand this, we have to go to the first moment when humans discover fire. And by discover fire, I don't mean that before we didn't have fire. I mean that we were able to handle the fire, that we used it as tools. What we have been doing during the first time of humanity was to hide, to go hide, to go high on the trees, to go on caves and try to keep ourselves protected from the predators that were much bigger than we are. Today, many of the predators that we had in the past, they don't exist anymore. They got extinct the last glaciation 10,000 years BC. So they are not here anymore. But in that time, we had really big predators that used to eat us. So we had no way to defend ourselves from them. And when we got to manage the fire from some lightning that was close by, we managed to get a torch and to create a fireplace. So we started to sleep around the fireplace. We were trying to keep the fire alive as longer as we could, so we can protect ourselves during the night. This allowed us to see, because of the brightness of the fire, we could see if there were some animals coming, and also we were able to use the fire to protect ourselves as a tool for fight against these animals because they were afraid of the fire. One of the other things that gave us the fire in that moment, besides the security, to feel safe against the predators, was also to feel quiet, because we have heat. So we also slept having heat, so we were not freezing anymore during the night. So managing the fire was something really important. And because we had no idea yet how to make the fire itself by ourselves, we needed to keep the fire, to keep it alive. And this is why some women were the keepers of the fire. The women were the keepers of the fire, so during the whole day, the fire was still alive. So what they did was to protect it, because the men used to go to hunt or to look for food far away. So they were keeping the babies and the cave, protecting the cave. So they were keeping the fire so they could stay fine during the night. So what happened once was that these fire keepers, these women, managed to put water on the fire to start to heat the water. So they started to boil the water. And what brought us this was really important, which was that they kill all bacteria. So we were safe because what usually kill us, of this bacteria that was in the water, now was killed by the boiling water. So we were able to survive. But not only that, they put food in the boiling water. So they started to cook for the first time. When these women, the fire keepers, they started to cook, something really important changed, because it was not only that the taste of the food, of the meat, of the vegetables changed and was better, but what really happened was that biologically inside a chemical process happened in the food that allowed some nutrients that usually stay stuck in the raw vegetables and and meat. All these nutrients started to be to react, so they were able to be absorbed. So when we ate them, we wouldn't lose those nutrients, and they started to nourish our brain, and we started to be much more clever because our brain was having all the things that it needed. So by cooking, we started to evolve in intelligence. So what these women did was to change the entire history of humanity by cooking. So as you see, today we have a very different concept about women cooking, because we have been through many centuries of masculine energy in the society that divided the tasks. And of course, it's all this macho thing that that said that the women has to cook and whatever. But in reality, in history, the concept of women cooking was not only just feed the kids, it was transform humanity. The alchemy of fire, water, and food was the thing that changed us all. So it is not just about cooking, it's about changing everything. It's about changing humanity. So that's the importance of relation between the women and the kitchen and the cooking. Is today is not necessary anymore relate women with that. We can relate as all. In the past, it was very different because we were just few people, and men were stronger that had to go and fight with animals in order to get food, and they couldn't put women into risk of death because women were the only clue or the only key to have babies, to keep the species going. So that's why they said you keep in the cave, in the kitchen, while the man goes out. It was just a matter of survival. Today is a culture that is not worth anymore. So when humanity started to expand and grow and create civilizations, these fire keepers, they were still there, they exist. Es igual a lugar y fuego. So in the European language, there is one word to describe place and fire, which is the word wes. So the women that were in charge of the place of fire were called westis. Westis. That in Greek, we transform it into Hestia, and in Latin was called Vestal. In Greek, west, the letter wa was spelled like her, Hestis, Hestis. That's why we have Hestia. And for Romans, vestis. That's why we have Vestal. Another way to say the place of fire in Egyptian language was Hat-Hur. So Hat means place or home, house. And Hur means light, the fire, the inner fire. So Hat-Hur is the origin of the name Hathor, Hathor, which is the name of the goddess of love, of home, So we have Hathor, Hestia, and Vestal. 3 different names that actually are 3 different ways to call the same thing, which is the house of the light, the house of fire. So let's begin by Hathor. Hathor is written like this in hieroglyphics. So it's Hat, the house, and Hur inside. Hur is the name of Horus. Horus is the god of the skies, the god of the sun, the ones that see everything. Horus is represented by the hawk, a hawk. So the hawk was the symbol of Horus because it was the bird that was able to fly closer to the sun. So let's imagine this. In the ancient times, people discover the fire. So they start to build houses around the fire. They make a fireplace, and around they create this house. So they protect the fire inside, so they can sleep around the fire, they can cook in the fire, they can share around the fire, and they build a house with a fire inside. When humans started to expand as a civilization, people not only had the fire inside their own houses, but they also had a temple now with a fire for the entire culture, the entire city, capital, or country. So they have the fire inside to keep the soul alive. So the keepers of the fire were in this temple protecting the spirit of the people. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. When we started to believe in gods in the sky, also believed that those gods must have a house in the sky. So we started to see that the constellations, the 12 constellations, were the people of the family that were also around a fire. They were living in a fire. And that fire is the sun. Entonces, todo el cielo alrededor es la casa. So the entire sky around is home. Sorry, is the house. Is the house. This is how we get the image that the sky is the house of the gods. We have the 12 gods here, and the fire in the center, the sun, exactly the same as humans, that they have the fireplace, the family, and the round house. The walls of this house is what we call the Milky Way. Why we call it like this? We have said it because the ancient ones said that the universe was created by a cow, a huge cow that was so abundant that was able to create the entire universe. So that's why we call it Milky Way, is the path of milk. So this is why in the Egyptian tradition, they write the name of Hathor as a house that holds the light inside, but her face is a human with the face of a cow, with horns and ears of a cow. If you don't know it, look it in the internet and you will see it. This is how we have the cow as a place, the home of the light. And of course, who were the keepers of the light of the fire, women. Women were the keepers, and while they do that, they were feeding their babies with milk. So the image of women giving the milk to the babies around the fire was the one that gave the idea of Hathor as the mother of all creation, giving love and beauty. Okay. In other cultures, the women that were the protectors of the fire, they had to be virgins because they were considered the mothers of the entire society. So they shouldn't be mothers by themselves. They should be mother of the whole civilization. So that's why they had to be like around 30 years being a virgin, which was the time that they had to be in charge of this fire. So this is how is created the idea of home. Home as the place where you have the fire inside, where you feel safe, where you feel warm, where you have the love of a mother giving you food, being able to sleep, feel protected, feeling happy. That would create the image of home inside a house. So this fire did also something really important. Gave us the intelligence, the ability to share, the ability to download the ideas into matter. Gave us the opportunity to become intelligent. So fire was the key to create music, to create cultures, basically to create art. So fire is the one that helps us to be creative because it's the one that helps us to focus our intention. Fire, to feel hypnotized by the spirit of the fire. So that's why we call it the divine spark. That's why we start to call it the light of consciousness. We follow the light, the votive flame, the trine flame, the fire of the spirit, the fire of the soul. All concepts related with this old history. When we look into the fire, we kind of get hypnotized by it because it awakens the potential that we have within in our inner fire. Through thousands of years, we have designed this idea that the fire of a home is the place where we can share what we are able to manifest, to create, to share with others, family and friends. But when we start to become aware of the spiritual path, the inner path, we start to we start to look for the inner fire, to activate our inner fire. And that takes us to understand that we are home, that home is within. And it doesn't matter where I go, home will be with me. So when we look into the outside, we can see that fire helps us by boiling all the things that can make us bad in the water, all the bacteria that can kill us. When we go into another aspect, we can find that fire cooks, creates alchemy, allowing us to be intelligent by eating what we cooked. And also the fire can melt metals to create tools so we can work with it. And when we look in our inside, it happens exactly the same. The inner fire is the one that helps us to purge our bodies from all the things that we don't need. The inner fire is the one that creates alchemy, allowing us to be aware and conscious. And the inner fire is the one able to connect all the things inside, create the tools that we have, and awaken the potentials that we have within. So basically, the idea of using this fire within is to find home within ourselves in order to awaken the potential. And these potentials are related with the powers of each one of my chakras, which are created by the power of the mother. Toro. So remember that Taurus, the mother cow, has within the potential of the being, which is Pleiades. In the heart of the cow. So for us, the potential that we have within is kind of manifested through the creation of the mother that the ancient related with the constellation of Taurus, the cow, in the heart of the mother. So Pleiades takes us to mythology, Greek mythology. But we are not going to talk about them now. We are going to talk about the concepts that are behind them, which are the potentials that are created within, around that fire. And these potentials from inside our soul, from this fire, are the ones that we call the arts, the muses. So if we take the idea that fire was the one that enabled us to, that helped us to, that helps us to awaken potentials of our arts from within, what we are going to do is to build up this home again for ourselves through the arts to awaken the fire of our soul. So what we are going to do in the next days will be to go through these arts that helps us to ignite the fire that will make us build our home again, our inner home. From the heart of the mother cow. So this that I explained today will be related with our task for the day August 22nd, which is our task for all together, in which we will be for 5 hours holding a fire. Okay, we will need to hold a fire for 5 hours while we do the task all together. So I will explain this when I know more about it, but just for you to know that we will do that. Fire, just fire, any way you can hold fire. So I recommend to the people that is following from now and had no idea why I'm speaking about cows and and fire and the task of August 22nd, I would recommend you to go to the other videos that I explained this much more in detail. The one that I spoken about Taurus constellation, I explained about that, and also the videos where I explain about August 22nd. Okay, that I don't remember exactly which one is it, but I would, if you ask, someone can tell you for sure. The day that we spoke about panic, also you have information about what we have to do in August 22nd related to the 12 systems. So just look into that, because that day we will work with the 12 systems and the fire. So each one would know how to do the fire, okay? Whatever you can, a candle, a fireplace, improvise, okay? Don't ask me how to make a fire. Improvise. I said fire. Don't set on fire your house, just as a advice, recommendation. So let's go to the information for today. The vibration for today is Ra. The statement for today is, I am guardian of the universe.